From kickboxing smokers to working with top UFC athletes, Cindy Panda Hernandez joins me today to share her unique journey working in combat sports recovery. We take a deep look into the world of balancing brutal training camps with essential recovery strategies that helps keep combat sports athletes at the top of their game. This is a special in-person episode. Really looking forward to people's feedback. If you're enjoying the content, give us a subscribe, like, follow. Really appreciate everyone's support. And now, Cindy Hernandez, let's get it. Welcome back to Fight Capital, where we enter the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rapaport. Today, I am joined by Cindy Panda Hernandez from Panda Movement Recovery. Panda Movement Recovery. Thanks for joining me today, Cindy. Yeah. Well, always nice having people who are local here in Las Vegas that can come out and talk to me. But, I'm just, looking into your journey. What led you getting into the recovery space and working with combat sports athletes?
So growing up, we were always active. That was the biggest thing with my dad, is always on the weekends. If we weren't doing sports in the middle of the week, we're constantly active on the weekends. And then coming here, I was always doing co-ed stuff because I grew up with brothers and sisters. So you are more prone to injury within those environments than I was. And I was clumsy as well. So I had broken bones, ankles, sprains, muscle tears, everything. But I kept going to doctors that never had an athletic background, but they're telling me, oh, you just can't do that sport anymore, or you should avoid doing that. And it's like, how do I have somebody who's never been athletic or wanted to be athletic telling me I need to stop doing what I'm doing? So for me, it was listening to that and being able to provide more. So being able to be an athlete and also know where the athlete's coming from. So even like training outside of fighters and working in different camps, like I've worked with swimmers, I've worked with soccer players. If I haven't done that sport, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to your training sessions. I want to do that sport. I want to know how you're feeling, how your movement's going. So then that way I'm doing best by you and you're getting what you need out of it.
Well, and what a great place to be in too, just with all the athletes that come through here. Because I know you've worked closely with the Shevchenko sisters, Valentina, and all the other athletes that come through in Muay Thai. What role do you believe that recovery plays in the competition and the lives of these combat sports athletes?
Recovery is super huge in this realm. It's very underestimated. It's now being more welcome as more athletes, especially the higher end athletes, are actually talking about it more. Michael Phelps really opened the door on that when he was saying he was getting massage, PT, cupping, all these things every single day, because you're pushing your body every single day. A lot of people think these athletes are only working 1-2 hours a day. It's like, no, that's sometimes their first session, and then they have a second, and then a third. They're putting their body through the ringer to perform, to be the best. So they need that recovery aspect of it. It's huge. It goes hand in hand just as much as how they fuel their body, the supplements they're taking, everything, mindset.
Yeah, I was actually at the USCPI a couple of days ago and got into this really interesting conversation with Captain America, Eric Alvarezine, and Roman Froman. And they were talking about the pace of camps and how athletes just want to push, but there has to be these kind of give and take parts during camp, and that a lot of times the athletes won't do that.
Yeah.
They won't let themselves have that. But to know that you have someone like yourself that can go and support those athletes with all the martial arts you've done, how does your own experience as a practitioner help inform your practice and help support the athletes?
My biggest thing with that is making sure they're being heard. And it's not just, they're not being treated like a cattle call. That's the one thing that I hear when I get someone for the first time. It's they've walked into a room and there are a chart and, someone's just reading off this. And it's like, I have all my athletes complete forms just like anybody else does. But I'm like, no, I want you to tell me. I want to hear it from you, your words. And then it's meeting them where they're at. Well, what do you want for your outcome? Are you aware that this is temporary, permanent? What are we doing, long-term wise? And it's just being able to treat them as a person and not just another thing on the table and the next person on the table.
I mean, I know how many times I got hurt just training with competition teams in Muay Thai, and arms getting ripped out and necks and knees, and never mind the wrestlers and all the grapplers and all that. Can you share any like specific techniques or modalities that you're leveraging that you're getting a lot of value out of, or that you've seen help improve the healing and recovery?
So when it comes to the modalities, and it's the biggest thing that I've seen, especially here within the Valley, it's I see a lot of people trying to do all just fully cupping sessions, fully scraping sessions, and or fully stretching sessions. For me, it's about blending all of it together. And so that's why when people come to me, they see a whole different experience. Not only am I massaging, I'm doing stretching, I'm doing traction, we're doing cupping. I treat as we go. If somebody wants cupping, I understand that, but I also want to explain to them the benefits of it. But also, if I don't think that this is working within the time allotted, I'm going to go to another modality and I'm going to see if I could get the benefit for that. Everybody responds differently depending like what homework they're doing at home, if they're stretching, foam rolling, if they're hydrated, dehydrated. So those are all factors we have to like watch out for when we have someone on the table. That's why it's super important for me when I hear anybody's coming up and they're working on athletes. I'm like, that's great, but are you doing your homework? I'm like, yes, it's very cool to be doing this and to be having the clients that I have. I'm so thankful for it. But I know a lot of people working on athletes that are just doing what they're being dictated to do, or oh, I'm just going to try this and we're going to see how it goes. And it's like, no, no, no. You have to, this is their career. And that career span is not necessarily that long for some of them. So you have to give them optimum care and be there for them. So that's my biggest thing, is just being able to blend and adapt as the athlete's sitting in front of you.
Mm-hmm. What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions that athletes have when they think about recovery and healing themselves outside of camp or even inside camp?
It's I think, to just generalize it, they think it's kind of like, in a sense, a weak thing to do, or oh my body. You don't want to recognize pain as an athlete. You don't want to say this hurts, this aches, because then it can break that mental state that no, I'm good, I'm solid, I got what I need to do. But things change. So it's being able to say, hey, let's recognize this, catch it ahead of time, be preventative with your care ongoing, so then this doesn't ripple into a bigger thing. But it's that's what it is. It's old school methods and tactics that are now catching up with the, hey, no, it's okay to say, hey, this is overly tight, but what can we do to strengthen that muscle so it's not as tight?
And I think of like all the miseducation out there, like people are like, oh, cold, cold, cold. But now we know that cold isn't necessarily the best way, right? I'm all about the heat. Like I'm heating pad pretty much all the time. But is there, what do you, can you just talk a little bit about how your involvement with like the athletes from like UFC, Bellator, PFL has helped inform your practice and maybe even help it grow?
Well, honestly, a lot of that was just by off chance. Like for me, when I started, I fully went into recovery in 2020. I was doing it more part time before then. But as 2020 hit, the pandemic hit, I was still just managing Andrada for Jason. And my biggest thing was, I want to be able to provide more, because the people that I had as privates for mitt work and bag work were reaching out to me just to have a conversation about their body. And then it was just like, people need to be heard and feel like they're being heard and being guided the right way for them. And there's no 100% rule for anything like this is your answer. It's like, no, we're going to adjust. We're going to take these things and see how it goes. And if it works for you, great. If not, we'll adapt and we'll change things up. But because I've been able to do that and I've had those relationships with people, it just naturally grew as a refer thing. And I'm thankful that my clients have speak so highly of me and they refer me to their friends and family who tend to be athletes as well, or at least within that realm. So I've been very fortunate that not only I take the patients and I take my job very seriously to be in the position I am today.
I love that. How do you incorporate any of the emerging things that you see in terms of like trends and recovery into your practice and into helping the athletes?
Well, so that's one thing I really love to do. So I do a lot of research. So I'll look at a lot of the data that's released out on any new modalities, tools, skill sets, anything for recovery, repair, preventative. I work with a lot of pre and post-op orthopedic surgeons here too in the Valley. So they're always giving me their information as well. And then I have PTs that are mentors of mine that I work with, and I'll bounce ideas off of them. Like, hey, this is what I'm currently dealing with. This is how I'm treating. What do you think if I applied this or removed this and substituted with this? And it's just being able to have that community around you to bounce those things off of. It's like, hey, you're not right and I'm not right, but hey, maybe we can create something greater from this and then we adapt something new.
Hey everyone, quick favor to ask. Did you know that nearly 80% of the people tuning in right now aren't subscribed yet? That subscribe button down below is what powers me every week to keep putting out these podcasts. Big shout out and thank you to everyone that's been supporting me for this. I couldn't do it without you. If you're enjoying the content, please subscribe below. It means the world to me. And for everyone supporting me, thank you so much. Now back to the show. Well, I don't know if you recently saw, but the UFC brought on Steven and Nephew. They're a like surgical partner, do like surgical equipment, and I know that they are doing a lot of really cool stuff in the space as well, and investing into the education aspects of it, which I always love to see. Because to your point, the athletes are often like, I got to train through this, I got to push through it. But in the end, when everyone always says, oh, you never go 100% into your fight. But like, is that really like, is there a way to avoid that? Can we be at, instead of being at like 50%, maybe we can be at 75%, maybe we can be at 80%. It seems like there's maybe some way to make that happen.
So there's a lot of different variables when it comes to it. So I always like to tell people using the term average. I hate using that when it comes to anybody because no one's average, especially when it comes to athletes. But when you're looking at someone trying to go and walk into that ring or that cage at 100%, you're looking at variables of how their weight cut was. And you could be doing the exact same thing every single weight cut, and it could be optimum every single time, and it just the flip switches and something crashes, something doesn't work, or something in your body is just offset that day, and we're always adapting to that. Now, to be able to avoid injuries ongoing, especially in the cage because you're dehydrated or malnutrition because you did a weight cut, I like the idea of doing dehydration tests on athletes. Mm-hmm. I would like the idea of actual camps being held accountable for the athlete. If you're 2 weeks out and your athlete is 40 pounds away from their weight, we are not doing best by that athlete. We are not doing best for their opponent who's already on point. It's like there's all these different factors we have to consider. And so for me, when I want someone at 100%, it's making sure I'm talking to the coaches are talking to me, we're all talking to the athlete, we're all on the same page. And hey, as long as we have that game plan, 100% is the goal, but let's see how close we can get to it.
Yeah, I've always, the whole weight cut thing for me, it's basically sanctioned cheating. And when I understand the purpose it serves, but at the same time, I know people that have cut 30 pounds, a week out from their camps, and in a very unintelligent way. And you see those people and it's like one hit and they get knocked out and you're like, oh, I wonder why. Your brain was dehydrated, Mm-hmm. So I think you hit an excellent point there. Looking ahead, how do you see the role of sports recovery evolving in combat sports? And is there any future goals that you have in the space?
Well, I think we already see it evolving a little bit we're seeing more camps with actual recovery teams, whether it's a PT and a massage therapist, or a massage therapist that has the background that fits almost the scope work of physical therapist. We're seeing, actual teams traveling with them and bringing them on, or at least housing them from East Coast to West Coast, which I get happens. But eventually I would like to see that to be a thing with every gym. And that's like nationwide. You should have somebody on site being able to take care of your athletes. If you are going to teach them how to do that sport, you should also teach them how to be preventative and taking care of the body within that sport. Stretching, foam rolling, how to recognize an injury. What's the difference between a burning sensation within the muscle or within your arm, and if a joint feels stuck, or if it's, hey, you got frozen shoulder and we got to treat it a different way. But it's just more information, the better. And a lot of people are afraid to ask those questions or be like, oh, hey, this is what's kind of going on with me. But it's like, no, hey, let's just have a raw, open conversation about it. The more I know, the best I could do for you.
It's funny. I hadn't considered that until I met up with Paulo Costa and his camp back in May, right before he went out to Dubai, and they were out here wrapping up at the PI. Mm-hmm. And I met one of the recovery person. I was with them, and I was like, try putting two and two together, because you had like Michael Pixley with him training, and then there was like his coaches there, and then there was this one guy, and I was like, I don't know what is he like? Is something like jiu-jitsu black belt? I don't know. And then I come to find out he was like the recovery team. But what advice would you give to any like aspiring athletes or health professionals that are outside looking to make an impact in the space and potentially enhance their recovery, and also, I guess, for athletes maintaining their peak physical condition?
Build your team. It's do your homework. And just because somebody may have the accolades doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work for you. And like I tell people, my approach isn't for everyone. We're not always going to get along, and that's fine. That's not a big deal, but it's finding that comfort, that family realm. I work with athletes every single day, and being able to have those conversations. It's not easy to be like, hey, I'm in camp for 6 weeks. I don't get to see my family. I don't get to do the things I want to do. I'm missing out on birthdays, celebrations, eating the food that they really want to eat. And then they have to go and sit down and be working on by somebody that they're not comfortable around. And you need to build that camaraderie within your group. Like for me, thankfully enough, like I've been educated enough within Muay Thai, with my background being more kickboxing, with Jason Andrade is an amazing coach. And I've been able to corner his athletes with him. So not only am I going through camps with them and handling the recovery work, I'm helping them with their mindset and having those conversations. It's talking with them and let them being heard instead of talking at them and to them and telling them, feeding the wrong things. And I believe people need to learn how to talk to athletes, because the simplest thing could be super detrimental to that mindset. And you have to, in a sense, treat it like a kid. You have to nurture it.
I love that. And the whole team and camaraderie thing, I think hits home. I'm sure you have to be adversarial sometimes. Like, why are you doing that? Like, this isn't going to help. But Cindy, I thank you so much for taking the time today. If anyone wants to engage with you, work with you, or follow your work, what's the best way for people to do that?
So they can follow me on Instagram, Panda Movement Recovery. Also my personal page, Happy Panda LV. And I'm on site at Andrade Muay Thai, and I always tell them to come and check out the classes there. They're amazing. Jason's an amazing coach, and just his impact on the Muay Thai community and his career coming up is amazing. And just meeting him and being able to work with him, I always tell people it's an experience. So definitely don't miss out on that.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Yeah, and you have a great day. Thanks, everyone.